Welcome to League Teams as we preview all the ins and outs for the last round of the season, round 23. We've got a big week to talk about, and that has been players who have been let go, told not to turn up next year, players who've been told, oh, you're over 30, that's all right, you can turn up, all three of you. And we've had the big four at North Melbourne as well. We're going to celebrate a few careers also. And what better way to start it with introducing our panel, one of the greatest panels of all time. He thought I was going to talk about him personally. Tony Shaw at the other end. You are a great 313, Tony, I think.
Yes, that's right, Dan.
Captain for 7 years.
Yeah.
Didn't like you while you were playing, but you were one of the great captains, you little... Are you allowed to say shite on air?
Not really.
No, with an E on the end, emphasis.
You've got to watch that
E.
sort of thing, dude.
You were a nasty little...
You.
So much we want to say about you, but congratulations on that wonderful career and welcome once again.
Thanks, Dirk.
We've missed him for quite some time. He's had a little bit of illness, but he is a man who is in the Hall of Fame for three different organisations: Carlton Footy Club, the Hawthorn Footy Club and the AFL Hall of Fame. I can't think of anyone else who's done that, Parko. Welcome.
Thanks, Dern. That's very nice of you. I have recovered. I thank you for all your good wishes and phone calls and all that. It was terrific.
Did you ring him, Rob? No. Okay.
Zero.
We actually didn't realise you were gone.
I didn't realise how... Yeah, that's right. That I wasn't missed and I didn't... No one likes me, so...
Well, wait for this one. He is the three-time premiership forward. He played 306.
Oh, I'd say 305, don't count the last.
I wouldn't count about 150 in the middle either while you were asleep for 3 years.
No, I was just getting the boys ready.
Getting the boys ready. Just waiting for them to come up, so you took a little hacienda.
Yeah, a little siesta for a while. No, good to be back on, Derm. It certainly has been a big week in footy this week, so looking forward to getting our teeth into that.
So, as I made mention a couple of seconds ago, Hawthorn announced they've got 3 players over 30. They've given them extra 1-year contracts. They're at reduced rates, but it seems like they had a hand in calling their shot on their career. And at North Melbourne, we've got 4 really, well, some of them are champions, some of them are, like in the case of Ferrito, 270 odd games is not to be sneezed at. That's an incredible output, but you won't say he's going to go down as an all-time great. He's a wonderful, wonderful servant. Del Santo's played at 2 clubs, 320 odd games, been a wonderful servant, a brilliant player at St Kilda, a really good servant for North Melbourne. But then you've got 2 stalwarts and champions who've been told, not on your terms at North Melbourne. It's what we want. And you've written your article about that today.
Well, I have done, and I had just a little bit of difficulty understanding how it couldn't have been done. I mean, you used Hawthorn as an example there. 4 players, if you include Mitchell 2 weeks ago, have had the discussions, taken reduced salaries, taking the risk whether they're going to be picked and played or not and paid accordingly. I thought that's fantastic, and maybe they've introduced, I think you've got a strong argument, they've introduced a lot of young players, so that's not their immediate problem, whereas North have had to make a significant decision. I mean, it's one of the most significant decisions I can remember being delivered by a coach. I felt great empathy for
Because in that article, I've read that, and you came back to the club early 90s, that is Carlton. Blackwell, who
Not
else
bad.
did you?
Buckley
champion.
Johnson,
Meldrum.
And Meldrum, all been premiership players previously.
How do you go up to those players who, in some cases, legends of the club, and say, I'm sorry, your time's done?
With great difficulty, to be truthful, and each of them, they were done individually in that stage. It took me a long while to find Jimmy Buckley because he knew I was coming to tell him.
Dodging, was he?
He dodged it for a long time, yeah.
Can I ask you, we've had a bit of fun before when you were coach, when I was just in my last year at Collingwood. What was the case with you as a player, Shorey?
Well, I knew it was my last year. It was either Peter Dacos or myself were left on the list, but Dakes had a bad injury and they thought he wouldn't get through a pre-season. So Lee had told us both that you had to get through pre-season, and I was picked. But I knew I was gone after that. I was going to retire, so it wasn't as bad. Played a solid year, but the thing about this one is probably the timing. Is it a good time to do it? Is it not? All the players have said they've accepted how it was done, but I think 3 were going to go, and I think there were 3 right decisions. Boomer Harvey, age doesn't worry Boomer. It's just the way he goes about it. Would he be able to fit in somewhere else next year in another club who might be on the verge and need that type of player?
So, Lynchy, I'd say to you, no player in the history of our game, and fair enough, it's a paid position being a player, but no player in the history of this sport for 120 years has given more service to a club than Boomer Harvey.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when there's been a fair bit of criticism towards Brad Scott over the last 24 hours. I mean, but he makes an informed decision, and it's not just his decision.
No.
So we look from the outside, and you're spot on. An iconic name in AFL football, full stop, let alone North Melbourne. But he's made the decision. Now, the timing stuff, I think the timing's all about the players. They wanted to know before round 23 came up. So I'm not sure what the plan was for North Melbourne. Maybe they were thinking first week of the finals they were going to make the announcement. I'm not sure. But very difficult time. Would have been tough to go through for everyone.
If you wanted to know before round 23 came up, and you thought, though, what you were going to be told was positive, and then it's negative...
That's the reality, though. That's the reality, though.
Well,
but
I think Brent Harvey would have been the one, wouldn't he?
Well, that's right.
Who would have thought, I might be a chance of going on. He's been pretty good.
He wanted the feedback. He didn't want it that way.
No, exactly.
We all want that feedback. It's all fine until it goes to...
We'd accept the other three in the position which North find themselves. We all would have agreed with that, but we're all having a fair bit of difficulty agreeing with Harvey.
Surely there was conversations going on in the lead up to saying, look, we know it's going to be tough, even 12 months out. You know, you're on a 12-month contract, 6 weeks out. There must have been some sort of conversation, say, look, we don't know where we are. And then when the player, you owe it to the player. He's come to the club and said, I want an answer. You can't bluff your way through the next few weeks. So you owe him that.
So on the wrap-up, it seems like honesty from all sides is what you really aim at. No one's going to be happy. Somebody's career is ending, but you need honesty. Sorry, I said last word with him.
No, last word. But in the finish, if the player wants to know and you're going to tell them the truth, it's going to be out in 5 minutes, so you've got to do what they did.
Yeah, he's got to know. Hey, what about round 23 preview? Another bloke who's actually called time is this guy, Dane Swan. It's on his terms, albeit he had an injury all through the season. Well, Schultze hasn't got the we'll see you next year. Jago O'Meara, a matter of hours ago, has told the Suns he wants out for next year. Natanui obviously is out for the season. And this man, Rory Sloane, a big whack to the cheek there. And Brodie Smith goes down on the bottom of that shot there, and he is out. Jimmy Bartels comes back into the Cats lineup. Kieran Jack, the same for the Swannies, makes them stronger again. So they look like they're powering on. And Jared Waite with the Roos as well. And, gee, Paddy McCann, Georgia the jungle, isn't he? Watch out for that tree. Every time he goes for it, he gets clobbered.
Don't talk about trees, Dan.
Clokey's back in for the Magpies. Pav plays his last. We hope he can get one more to get that 700th goal. Easton Wood in that caption there ruins what could be his final series. Majak Daw, does he make it back? Does Jesse Stringer make it back as well? This man, Higgins, comes back in for North Melbourne, and that will be vital. And then we got Goldie. He comes back in for the Magpies, and McCaffer, who has announced his retirement also. So let's have a look at some of the key ins and outs. Lynchy, you can start.
Well, a couple of the big outs. Adam Cooney and Matty Stokes both retired after 250 games in a Brownlow and 200 games and 2 premierships. So 2 superstars leave the game.
No doubt about that. We got some really good names there that have just decided to call it quits, and out they go. And Parko, the ins, please.
Well, the ins there, the two that really interest me are Higgins. He's come back without any games at all, I think, in the reserves, but that's a huge risk, but it's good to see him back. And Schoenmakers, I think he's played a couple back with Box Hill, and I think he's very important in their structure. If he's to stand up, it gives them a semi-tall forward.
And also good to see Aaron Sandilands coming back in, possibly for Pav's last game, and hopefully they can put up a really good show. Let's go to our first game now. It is tomorrow night's game. It's between Adelaide and the West Coast Eagles. It is, thanks to our friends at Wild Turkey, the Wild Turkey Bourbon Game of the Week, Channel 504 from 7:30 p.m. And who's first up? Lynchy, the Adelaide ins and outs, and obviously Rory Sloane with the suspension.
Yeah, ins Henderson, Ellis Yeoman, as you said, Sloane out. Brodie Smith with that concussion from last week as well. Last game they played was round 12, where the Crows won by 29 points in a really impressive display because they had plus 30 inside 50s, and this team is starting to look extremely good. They're the number 1 clearance team in the competition. They're the number 1 scoring team in the competition. They're going to be very hard to beat, especially at the Adelaide Adelaide Oval. There's been plenty of controversy out of the showdown last week, but none more than, or probably this is probably second actually, Rory Sloane, with this report, was suspended for 2 weeks down to 1. How do you guys see this?
Sure, you're a little thug.
Oh, no, in the old day, that was how you got someone, looking like you're going to hit the ball.
Well, that was like playing full back in the old days.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? You get one behind it. And this was lovely, but you know what? You only go up there and apologise when you know you're guilty.
That's right. How many times you do that?
Well, you do. You go up, and if we were in the aftermatch, you go up the bloke, sorry about splitting your eye, mate.
I don't believe that, and I don't like seeing him be suspended. But for a bloke who can actually drop the ball precisely onto his boot, millimetre perfect, how you can miss the ball by that much and accidentally get him in the head, I think there's a degree of I meant it in there.
Worth a week.
I tell you, the Crows aren't happy though. I think Mark Rasciuto wants to revisit the Ramsgate with maybe Koshy.
He took a dive, he went off with a split eye.
Tony Shaw, hold the fort there and keep going with the West Coast Eagles.
Well,
please.
the big one is Nick Natanui, just how they get around this, and they've tried it with Jonathan Giles coming back into the side. He's been around Jonathan Giles, but he's a great competitor, but geez, no Nick Natanui the way that he runs at the ball. A good win versus the Hawks last week. They had plus 45 contested possessions, and one player who now is added to their midfield. I know he was a genuine wingman, but he now has also gone in the centre bounces and around the contest is Andrew Gaff, and he would have to be in the squad, I would think, for All Australian, if not in the 25, if we get to there.
So we've got our match committee with this game as well, Shorey. So we'll drop the flags on our panel here. And Tony Shaw, keep going, please, and you can give us the midfield match-up battle.
Well, it's all about Adelaide and the speed they got round the ball. I don't think they're a super quick side, but they bring players up from, like Cameron that comes out of the forward line, and they've got a good rebounding half-back line. I just want to show you, this is their speed around the contest, and what it is quick, intelligent handball to get the ball forward quickly. And they do it, they get a lot of one-on-ones. Just watch it at the contest. Like I said, most of the blokes involved in this contest, or these contests, aren't quick of leg speed. But smart thinking, get through the lines, and then you work the ball forward. And that's what they've been doing so well, especially in the second half of the year. But I just wonder in finals time, when they're pressured a lot more than what Port Adelaide would pressure, whether that could break down a bit, and have they got the genuine speed on the outside to go all the way. Playing great footy, they're up there as one of the favourites, but that's where their speed comes from.
Let's have a look at the Wild Turkey Bourbon head-to-head of the week, and it's Brad Crouch against Luke Shuey. Talk us through this one.
Well, Brad Crouch, he's just become a very good player, hasn't he? You look at the stats, they're very similar in a lot of ways. Both don't kick a lot of goals. Now, this is from round 18 to 22, so we're talking 4 weeks, 1 goal to 3 goals. You'd like to think in finals that if they can get through and score a little bit more, plus with added midfield, that hopefully that'll make them, both these sides dangerous in finals.
Yeah, Shuey's been incredible once again. Crouch has really stood out also. Both of them having wonderful, wonderful years. Parker, you've been in bed for about 8 weeks and you've been working up to this game, and I know you've been looking at the backline strategies. What have you come up with, mate?
Well, I think we both believe that they've got very competent midfields. We've talked about that and usage from both groups. Both have structurally probably the most talented forward lines in the competition. And so it will come, in my opinion, we usually talk about midfields making the difference and midfield controls they will. But I think this is one game, and the Crows' defence, not known to me, seriously, we've had Talia as the core of that, or the strength of that, and they built the Brown, Laird, Lever, Smith, Cheney and one Hardigan, who's not named there, has been a terrific. But they've become far better as a defensive group, and I think now running fifth. Mind you, the Eagles are third, but it will be the Crows' defence, I reckon, that will make the difference, and they will win on the back of that.
Let's have a look at the forward line setup now with Lynchy.
Well, with Parko's back line going extremely well for the Adelaide Crows, it's going to be really important for the forward line of the West Coast Eagles to stand up. And I wanted to focus on one particular man, and that's Jack Darling. Kicked 3 goals last week. Didn't have a big disposal day, had only the 12 touches, but a lot of his touches were contested. Doesn't get the cheap, easy mark on the lead too often, but he's such a dangerous player. Now, since he's been in the competition over the last half a dozen years, started 24 goals in his first year, 53 in his second year, and hasn't really reached those heights since. he's always looked from his early days that he's going to grab this game by the scruff of the throat. And I just see that over the next 2 to 4 weeks, this could be a big time for him to actually stand up and complement what Josh Kennedy is delivering week in, week out. But I just think maybe a few more uncontested balls on the outside, on the strong lead, rather than relying on contested grabs at ground level.
So you're backing their forwards against the Crows' backs to win the game.
He needs to play well, yes.
Wonderful opportunity for a couple of guys to get 4 quarters to show their wares before they get in there. Cam Ellis-Yolman in the absence of Rory Sloane. And obviously Big Gilesy, one of the ripping blokes of the AFL, gets his in replacement of Nick Natanui. Who are we going for, Tony Shaw?
Oh, Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Crows.
Adelaide clean sweep all around here in this panel. We're going for a 4-zip call on Adelaide. Let's go to our next game now. Geelong take on Melbourne at Simmons Stadium. G'day, Simo. That's from 1:30 on Saturday, and with thanks to our friends at Voltara. Yeah, Simo. Mark Simmons. He pays it, so they name the place after him. Yeah.
Bit of folding your way too?
No, gives me nothing. In fact, Simo, you owe me. Okie doke. Thanks to Voltaren and our good friends who sell that stuff at Chemist Warehouse. Tony Shaw, Geelong's ins and outs.
Well,
please.
good ins. Bartel, Caddy and Menzel. There's a bit of class involved with those three. The big one is Lockie Henderson, boys. I just think with him going out and don't know how long he's just had a knee operation, if it's a few weeks coming up the finals, you lose a bit of flexibility because he can play both ends, so that's a big out. 19 goals from 61 inside 50s last week, so pretty comprehensive the way they went about it. I said that Stevie Motlop had the lift about 3-4 weeks ago. Well, he's done it. He's had a rip a month and 5 goals with a PB, of course. And one person I think needs a good final series is Zach Smith. Zach Smith, he started well in the year, been a bit down lately, but he's the one I think who can really help and get some control around the ball.
Let's go to the D's now. Wonderful for the previous 3 or 4 weeks, but last week, not so good, David Parkin.
Well, you're absolutely right. Garlett, Sam and Harms in, Mitchie, Neil, Bullen and Oliver out. Oliver's a bit of a loss. I reckon that kid's going to be a really good player. Look, you're right. After the Gold Coast, Hawthorn and Port Adelaide wins, I reckon the Melbourne supporters, fair dinkum, should have received a far better go. They were terrible. Commitment and risk-taking was poor. Their contested ball, as you'll see here, was very ordinary, and their usage was absolutely disgraceful. So I think they would have, Melbourne supporters, walked away from that game saying, I thought we'd taken a massive step forward. Here's a very underrated side come up and played us their own game, and they walked away a very disappointed group of supporters. But they've got a final opportunity. They go to Geelong this week and hopefully they can recover in a game that's their last and do something which their supporters will be proud of.
And Paul Roos's last game as well, which has been significant over the last 3 years.
No doubt.
Can they recover?
No.
No, Geelong.
No, I don't think so, but I think they'll be competitive. But
Not this week.
No,
but
not this week.
But they're on the right track.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Rosie, no, the Cats.
Yeah, I reckon the Cats all round. Let's go to our mate now, Nathan Brown from Sportsbet. I've got a question for you, Brownie.
Yes, sir.
What's the odds of Kitty Chiller keeping her gig next time around?
I'm sure we can put a market together for that next week. We're going to be they're pretty long odds, I wouldn't have thought, on that one, Derm, but we'll get that to you. Now, Adelaide and West Coast, they're jumping off West Coast. Can you believe after winning last week, West Coast went from $21 to $41 for the premiership on the back of Nick Natanui being out. They've dropped $20. So the punters don't think they can. Anyway, in this one, 15 of 16 Adelaide Oval. Adelaide have won by an average of 49 points, 10 times the amount of money on Adelaide in this game. Now, the same game multi. Eddie Betts kicked the first goal the last 2 times these sides played. The punters think 40 plus. Luke Shuey's been firing. He'll get 30 plus. That's paying about $51. We had a punter last week, for an example. Take West Coast against Hawthorn 1-39 on Friday night footy. Kennedy for the first goal and Chris Maston for 30 plus. He turned his 5 into a bit over 350, sure, if you can do the maths on that one.
Yeah.
Hawthorn against Collingwood. The Hawks have won 8 in a row against the Pies, and the punters think they'll bounce back big time. Last time the Pies won, preliminary final back in 2011, but we do have a mega bet on this game, and it centres around the man who might play his last game at Collingwood, Travis Cloke. He's only played 12 games this year, but Travis Cloke to kick 3 or more goals and the Pies to cause an upset. Some pretty juicy odds on that one there. But if you're going to have a punt on any of that, please always gamble responsibly.
And Clokey, that bet is Son's sticky gloves?
I know, he can't have the sticky glove anymore.
Okay.
So we probably should have given better odds on him that he can't wear that glove that the ball just sticks to like a Like a bee.
Thank you very Thank you, Brownie. You are a star. We'll see you again next week, mate. Let's go to the break now and tell you what you're seeing. Well, we'll go to the Jollymont Railway Yards as well. Well, not much is happening there, but at the MCG, the Bombers in what used to be a blockbuster up against the Blues, but I'm sure they'll be giving their all. The Swans are looking for redemption against the Tigers, who got them after the siren at the MCG 8 weeks ago. North Melbourne have never lost to the Giants. Giants are out to remedy that one. And the Suns, if they've got one bunny in the AFL, it's the power. But they're looking for a win also.
Stop this run of 9 losses in a row, and he goes straight into the man on the mark. Almost a free kick against him as the ball sails through for a goal. Possession 13 from the 50. Got plenty on it. Look at that. That's delightful. That's top shelf. But after 9 losses in a row, the Blues are back on the winners list, and Melbourne's dream is over.
Welcome back to League Teams. Going to our next game now, and it does feature those mighty Blues. They beat the Bombers back in round 6, and it's the first time they've got them in 4 years. 2 p.m. on Channel 503 as the first game of our Super Saturday, and it is the Bombers for you, please, Lynchy.
Yeah, some big ends with Goddard, Dempsey, McKernan and Comer coming to the side. J. Marcooney, Stokes and Razio Fantasia out with that groin injury. He's been one of the stars. And certainly it's coming to this last game. It has been a dark few years for the Essendon Footy Club, no doubt about that. But I think there's been a silver lining when you look at some of the youngsters that have actually come through, got into the side, and just the rise of Zach Merritt. He's an elite player in the competition now, and players like Darcy Parish in his first year. McDonald Tippenwoody is one of the most exciting players that we've seen in recent years.
He is, isn't he?
And as we said before, Fantasia's been great, which I think on the back of some of the important signings of retaining some of those suspended players, next year there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And you think the membership has been fantastic. We have a look at the lineup, how they may line up in round 1, and that spine, especially in the back half, looks really good with Hurley and Hooker down there, Goddard off a half-back flank. I think Zach Merritt, the opportunity to start in the midfield and have some really experienced support around him with Dyson Heppel, with Joe Watson if he comes back into the side as well. I think there is some real possibilities to be in contention come late in the season for a top 8 spot. So well done for the Essendon players that have hung in there and had to go through a really tough season.
I don't want to break away from the rundown too much,
But you will.
Are you surprised that Essendon have said 27 won't do it for Hibberd? Pick 27?
A little. I think that'd be about the number, I would have thought.
Yeah, I reckon that's kind of generous.
Right
I would
on.
think morally you'd want to let the boy go to the club he wants to go to as well.
I think so.
He still can, can't he? Can't he go...
Well, technically, no. I think it's from a moral standpoint. Essendon have said, we'll help him out, but they're not going to give him away.
Yeah. I reckon 27's hardly a giveaway. Pick 27 for him. Okay, I'm going to get a call from that. Hey, Parko, let's have a look at the Blues, please.
Made a couple of changes, good ones too. Kerridge and Silvani were last week. I think this side's coming together pretty well. Interesting, Derm, for the first time I've been invited by the Essendonians to celebrate their 1-point loss to Carlton in the 1999 preliminary final. That's an interesting invitation, isn't it? I really look forward. I'm
You're walking there fairly solid, I'd imagine.
Are you sitting on a stand and they're throwing tomatoes at you or something like that?
I had nothing to do with it. They've asked Kuda Ferdy, some people that were involved in all that sort of thing. I thought that was fantastic. Look, and the good thing here, Carlton have now, I'm starting to talk about building as Essendon have done. A number of players there, Doherty, Graham, Wright, Buckley, Cripps, etc. Even I'm not sure about Liam Jones. Can somebody help me with Liam Jones? I see him play and do things incredibly athletic and good for his size and shape, and then he disappears for about 5 or 6 weeks. But I think they are building too young. Buckley's come back and played well. Sumner, they are looking to me to be building a good, solid, young core of players that they're doing there. But what the workload was spread last week. They worked extremely hard. Their application of 4 quarters is a real indication of how well they're being coached. And I think they've taken a great step forward that people didn't anticipate.
Liam Jones, I think, needs a pre-season with the man at the other end of the table, training him, Dermy Brereton. Because and I'm saying when you're
going to get him out to clubs and pubs.
No. No, I'm just saying when you played, you changed angles, you made different ways of getting the ball. Liam Jones just hasn't got that. He needs someone to teach him that over a pre-season without the pressure of even the ball being there.
Who are you going for then, Tony?
Who's playing?
Essendon and Carlton.
Carlton and Essendon.
No, gee, it's a ripper, isn't it? I'm going Carlton again. I think they're going all right.
Yeah, the Blues will win.
Yeah, I think the Blues. After last week, they were terrible 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know.
I'll go Blues.
They're hardly in the top four.
Oh,
mate.
that's right.
Okay, so 4-0 around the panel again. Let's move to our next game now. Game number 4. Another one of the Super Saturday fixtures. Sydney take on Richmond at the SCG. Remember this one when young Lloydie slotted one through after the final side?
yeah.
And that was a couple of months ago. Channel 504. It's a late game. It's a twilight game on Saturday afternoon. Tony Shaw, let's have a look at those Swan Birds.
I think it might be a different result than what happened earlier in the year. Kieran Jack's probably the big one coming back in, and Dean Towers has been omitted, which was pretty good in the first half of the season. Unlike them last week, I thought they were lucky to win against North. I really believe they allowed 63 inside 50s, and they lost a contested possession, which they are massive at. And just one thing about that, 16 marks they allowed inside 50, the opposition 50. So I'm just wondering whether their midfield, who have just been so brilliant and keep accumulating the ball, but sometimes you can get ahead of yourself and just start going one way too far and not getting back. Now, they normally defend really well, but sometimes you can get ahead of yourself, and I'm just thinking whether that can happen. Just one man, Sammy Naismith, since Tippett's been out and they haven't had a second ruckman, Sinclair got hurt. I'm just wondering what they're going to do with this man. I don't think Sinclair will be back. They say 2 to 3 weeks, so he mightn't be fit enough to slot straight in. But I reckon he's had a really good time. Time in ruck, 84% when Tippett was in 2016, 76. So they're going to spend a lot of that. I ask you blokes, as in the balance of what goes on with these two. Round 22, the differentials, the hit-outs are plus 17. Plus 5, for hit-outs to advantage. First possession plus 4. The other, the clearance is down, and then scores from plus 8. I'm thinking Naismith's done a really good job in the last month. Do they keep him in there during a final series?
The old team balance thing is Tippett's more value forward, whereas at their very best as individuals, Tippett's the best ruckman in the team, and he's played his best football in the AFL since he's been moved into the ruck.
Absolutely.
And plays 10-15% forward. So it's a real balancing act. If they could get Sinclair back for the last couple of weeks, that's going to be a massitive advantage and tough at the selection table.
Naismith was against Goldie here, and he looked very comfortable about how he's. I know he's not in great form at the moment, but Naismith, it's going to be interesting to come through.
You're telling me he can't go forward and play.
No, he can't do that.
No.
So you've got to go Tippett forward,
Yep.
but you're going to take away from what Tippett's been showing earlier in the year.
Okay, there's the answer.
Parker, let's have a look at the Tigers now. I'm rapt to see the young boy Mabor Chol, the young fella with a big leap on him, get a game.
Well, it's time, isn't it? I'm going to ask you where you think they are. It's a question that's constantly in everybody's mind.
Got to see them, don't you?
Richmond supporters, and they're at least giving the opportunity for these boys to be played. I know it's only one game to go, and I'm pleased about it. But what annoys me, I go along and watch Richmond. They play 1 week, and they somersault their game plan. They counter-punched and attacked and had quick ball movement the previous week, and I go to watch them against the Saints, and no risk at all. Lateral movement of the ball, never going forward and taking a risk. And I think, well, what is their game plan, and what are they attempting to do? And it seems to me that changes almost on a weekly basis. So are they, in my opinion, halfway to nowhere? Are they saying things differently privately behind the walls of the club, or they in fact have a base now that can go on and develop and become a final 8 side? I don't think so. I'm not sure about your view of this current list that Richmond have.
The thing is, most teams benefit in terms of game style, the way they move the ball from back line to forward line. Yeah. And I see them early games take some risks, but if they get chopped off, intercepted, they don't take any more risks.
No.
It's like, all right, let's play it safe for the rest of the day. And it's like a cricketer who will only play straight. You start pinging him with a few bounces, you're going to get him out.
Well, their stock standard game for the last few years is that slow, precise movement across half-back, wait till it opens up, then go. They've tried to get it faster,
but if they turn it over early like that,
then they go back.
Yeah.
But I don't reckon they've got the confidence to go forward. I think the risk taking to me is if you've got targets down there as the better sides have, then you will take a 50-50 risk. It looks to me as though every time I see Richmond play, they are going nowhere unless they are absolutely, satisfied they're going to keep possession of the ball. Pretty difficult to do in our game.
Maybe Jack Rewalt close to the goal might give you confidence.
Full forward might be a start.
Yeah, it might help, wouldn't it? Just around the place where you kick the goals from, around there.
That place.
Yeah, that place.
Can I hear anybody with an A for Richmond?
No.
Nope.
No, we're
Swannies.
going for the Swannies all around here. OK, time to go to the break now. As per usual, one of the great publications in the AFL is the AFL Record, a fiver. And what about this? The front cover designed by an 11-year-old. And this little kid won the Make the Cover competition. Still wonderful value. You get a lot of reading goodness in there.
Yes, this is the first time they've ever met, these two teams. Gold Coast's first game as a team at Amy Stadium. Smothered by Bennell. And behind with time to score something. Home rush it. They might score the goal to win. Matera has been lurking. Russell! That could be the killer. He's kicked it. That could be the killer. 7 seconds. Pettigrew. Long ball. West off. Oh, he's grabbed it. Huge grab. There it is. What do you dream of this? Yeah. This is his moment. He's
missed
out
it.
to the right.
They've won.
Glory lasts forever. The Gold Coast Suns have their first ever AFL win. And it's one we will never forget.
Welcome back to League Teams. The Suns take on the Power this weekend. That was their first ever win, and it was against Port Power in 2011. And interesting to see Kenny Hinkley
in the box,
box for the Gold Coast Suns. Alistair Lynch, it is at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. One of the games on our Super Saturday coverage, Channel 503. Let's have a look at the Gold Coast Suns, please.
Hallahan, Joyce and McPherson come back into the side. Harborough, Lemons and Garlett go out of the side. And it certainly has been another really difficult year for the Gold Coast Suns. Injuries have been smashing their midfield week after week. And we see how they're starting to line up. They're tired now. They're actually out on their feet. But I think the potential moving forward here, and I know the coaches don't like potential, but realistically, when you're trying to build a club, what you want is your goal-to-goal line, your spine. And I think this spine for basically next year is going to be as good as there is in the competition. You look at Thompson down at fullback, Stephen May is in the discussion at least for All-Australian squad, Ablett back into the middle, Tom Lynch is one of the elite forwards in the competition, then you've got a 206 or 5 centimetre full forward in Peter Wright, and you think on the back of this, now obviously there's been some big news today with Jago O'Meara saying that he wants to leave and go to a Melbourne-based club, and obviously Prestia is going to go as well. So if you take into consideration their draft picks already that they've got, it was pick 4. Now if Prestia goes to Richmond where he wants to go, that's going to be for probably a pick 6. So you've got 2 first rounders. Now, through the trades last year, they've got Melbourne's first round pick, which is pick 10 at the moment. And then if they trade O'Meara to a middle of the table Victorian club, it's going to be about a pick 12. Add to that pick 22, 23 and 27. They've got 7 in the top 27. Now, I'll put this to you with that spine, Shorey.
Yes.
If Fremantle are serious, or Nate Fife is serious about leaving at some stage over the next 12 months, if I said from Gold Coast to Fremantle, I'll offer you 1 first round draft pick being pick 4, what would you say?
No.
Rightio. How about pick 4 and pick 6?
Maybe.
All right, well, let's
I want
make
a player.
All right. Pick 4, pick 6 and Hall.
Probably nearly have to go.
All right, let's get it done.
Oh,
I think
all
that's
right.
if you talk about clubs that have got the potential
I've
to
said
win,
in those meetings, they don't happen like that.
to wheel and deal,
Yeah,
they can. Now, what if they wanted to? Because they've already got about 7 or 8 first round draft picks anyway. If they went, we'll go pick 4, pick 6, pick 10, and chuck in pick 22, you've still got a pick 12 left.
Yeah.
So you've got plenty of talent there, and it lands a big player like Fife into the side
In the midfield with that spine.
with Gary Ablett. Now
need to
Gary
get-
Ablett's got a couple of years to go.
They need to get some of this young talent, if it comes in at that top end, colliding with their best football while Tom Lynch is
still
still
there.
playing. He can't be beyond 27, 28.
No,
they
that's
need
right.
to have those young talent that they will draft into the club. As long as it's really good, it's got to be there when Lynch is 24, 5, 6, 7.
Well, Nat Fife's going to play for 5 years.
And this list build is about Gary Ablett, in maximising Gary Ablett's window. So they've got couple of years at best. He can push forward. He can spend more time forward. Imagine him rotating out of the guts with Fife.
Parko, let's have a look at the
3 first-round draft picks you can have. That's it.
You know
Port
something.
Adelaide.
The Port Adelaide ins and outs. I'm interested in the young kid. I love the name Snelling. He's a little tackling machine.
And Bonner as well too. I mean, bringing in first game players, O'Shea, Thompson. I think they're two players I would have named at Butcher, O'Shea, Lobie and Thompson are probably four that they're looking at, maybe on their last legs. And there's probably the question, do they need to trade vigorously? I'm suggesting they do on the basis of, even when they're standing up and they've had a terrible run with injuries, their best group standing up now is not good enough to win
For
it.
picks or maturity?
Oh, maturity.
Yep.
No doubt in my mind. And they were led by, the terrific effort of Wines and Boak and Gray last week, gave them a chance. And to go down by 15 points, I thought was a pretty courageous effort in the showdown.
All righty, Shorey, we'll start with you. Gold Coast v Port Adelaide. Who wins?
Up there, I'm going Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think I'm Gold Coast too.
I've changed 3 times. I'll go the Suns as well.
We're all...
I just said they were cooked.
We're all going the same again. Gold Coast all around this panel once again. Let's move to the next game now. The Giants have never beaten the Roos. The closest they've ever got is 28 points, but they get another shot at them this weekend, Saturday night, Super Saturday, 7:20 p.m. Shorey, let's have a look at North Melbourne. They've got a couple of changes, I think.
Scotty Thompson's out with an abductor muscle, which really important out there for them because he pulls that defence together. McDonald and Higgins in now. Shawnee Higgins, fantastic to have him in. I think he just adds that class to this group with his kicking ability. But he hasn't played a game, so he's going to need this one game. Then he has a spell. Then he's going to need to have a final series. So well done. I thought they should have beaten Sydney last week. They were very, very good, very competitive. Robbie Tarrant, he's had a sensational season. Majak Daw, Jed Anderson, we said about other blokes have to lift for them to play a good final series. You can't have bad games every second week like that with Jed Anderson and Majak. They have to play to their best, all those lower half players in that team.
Lynchy, let's have a look at the Giants, please. Just the team, no changes. Unchanged lineup at the Giants, and then we'll go into a bit of vision you've pulled out.
Well, we saw them last week. They were pretty disappointing in the first quarter against the Fremantle Dockers. Got their defensive game in the second quarter up and going, then their offensive game started to really fly, and it was good to see Jonathan Patton with a PB of 6 goals. This is the issue, though, I see moving forward. They're the number one team for inside 50s, but too often they're 3 big forwards lead to the same spot. So the ball comes in long. There was plenty of options to lead at the ball carrier. Now it relies on maybe a Cameron mark over the top. Now it works out that there is a goal over the back. Yeah, well that one time.
Yeah.
Hey, once again, you're relying on a big contested grab here. See 3 forwards in the same location again. Someone has to attack at the ball. That is a good
They
contested
kicked a goal. That
was an isolated example. Once again here, top of the goal square. They continually bomb into the top of the goal square. Again, you're reliant on it, don't.
What's
surely.
that?
No.
That's another goal. You are kidding, aren't you?
On 3 unlucky occasions, they kick goals. But my point is, Shorey, that they just bomb the ball in and rely on some absolute talent and brilliance to take contested grab or ground level goals where you need someone presenting at the ball carrier.
Where did it go, though? It went to that dangerous area 15 out, Parko, which every defender hates it there.
Yeah. But wouldn't you like a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2?
Yeah, but you don't. How many times do you get on the lead? Like you
It's
used
a lot
to do
more
that.
dangerous an uncontested possession in the forward line.
Well, I'll tell you what, they crumbed pretty well there for 3 goals off the thing that you reckon's not working well.
I thought it was a good bit of vision anyway, Shorey.
Can North Melbourne, can they buck their existing trend and can they beat the Giants at Etihad Stadium?
They can, but they won't. I think GWS speed might get them.
He's answered right. They can, but they won't.
Yeah, Giants for the first time over the Kangas.
Etihad Stadium, fast track. I think the Giants will like that. Let's move to our next game now. St Kilda are taking on the Brisbane Lions at Etihad. Sorry, Lynch, you had a giggle.
Did you cut that up? You stitched me out.
It's the early game.
It was a good point.
It was a good point.
Early game at 1 p.m. live on Fox Channel 504. Lynchy, let's have a look at the mighty Saints.
Oh, who's playing? There's an extended squad. Fisher, Pearce, White, for the first game as Sinclair comes in. White's dandied on Stingrays. Played pretty well last week in the twos with 21 touches off half-back flank. This team, it's all about effort for the Saints. They work extremely hard and they're starting to show some signs that they're getting some potent forwards up and going. Bruce has been there for a couple of years. Great to see Tim Membry, after debuting with one game in 2014 with the Swans, coming down to the Saints, and just over the last handful of weeks, he started to look extremely good. Very powerful on the lead, very accurate kick, takes a good mark above his head, and I think that's a massive positive for the Saints moving forward, especially when you add Carlisle next year.
And unfortunately, Paddy McCartan goes out. George of the Jungle. Let's have a look at
Watch out for that
Brisbane Lions, please, Parko.
Yeah, and West Dawson, Jansen and Smith are in with one out playing, I guess, on the extent. I looked at them the last 2 weeks, had a good look. They look mentally and physically very, very tired. It's been a pretty difficult season for them, but they certainly need more talent. But to a long way away, more talent. I'd give them a compensation pick in the first round of the draft. I know it's probably not going to happen, but I reckon they've reached that stage. I think the changes are in the wind there. It seems to me that the players as a group are not giving what they should be giving, in my opinion. They look either extremely tired or a bit disinterested and what I would call less than committed as they should be as league footballers. So I think the coach is under a fair bit of pressure right now to survive, because at the moment it looks like they're not really playing for him.
Daniel Merritt playing his 200th game, and he is retiring at the final siren of this game also.
As is Trent West as well.
Trent West.
And they brought Trent West in.
Yeah, he was applauded off the ground last week at GWS.
He was
when we saw him, so he's got another one.
In the Magoo. So Trent West comes into the lineup as well. Daniel Merritt also will be on 360 with the boys, Jared, and I think the pig, Bung, is stepping in as well for Robbo again tonight. Now, who are we going for, guys? Can anyone see on the road? We ask you first. The Brisbane Lions, can they upset here?
No, I don't think so. But congratulations to Daniel Merritt. Been a star for a number of years and been under the pump for a few years now too.
And everyone else
Saints.
going for Saints?
Yeah, Saints.
Saints all around here again. We're going to go to the break now, and once again, a Toyota. Oh, what a feeling moment this week. Jeremy Howe, how does he keep doing it? Well, I thought we banned him. He just takes, a great mark every week. Let's have a look anyway. Toyota. Let's ban Jeremy Howe from Toyota. What a feeling moment. It's getting boring seeing him take screamers. Get one off the deck, Jeremy.
Howe! Over 2 metre Peter. Oh, Jeremy Howe! Sensational grab. That's mark of your career for most.
That's his second tonight, Howe.
Yep.
I always felt a really strong connection, that loyalty to Fremantle. That offered me the opportunity to begin with and to develop me into the person and player that I was. And I knew that if we stuck at it, that a period of success would come.
Pavlich got a chance to wrap it up here. Thought about Walters, sold the foot candy, right foot, straight, punt road end. You are a superstar, Matthew Pavlich.
In a lot of ways, it was great because both myself and Fremantle were young in their career. I see this week being about the celebration of how we've grown up together and had success but had failures, and we walk away knowing that we've had a huge influence on each other's lives.
Welcome back to League Teams. Matty Pavlich, Dockers take on the Western Bulldogs. Picked in the 1999 draft, and sorry Tigers, he was the choice after Richmond took Aaron Fiora. So Matty Pavlich has turned out to be an all-time great man. His Dockers in his last game, looking for his 700th goal as well. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be the first bounce. Lynchy, Pavlich and the Dockers, Fremantle.
He's been a superstar, hasn't he? And he needs one goal to get to 700 in AFL footy, which is ranked 22 of all time. But at big ins, a big number of experience ins in the extended squad. Now, we saw the Fremantle Dockers last week. This has been a horrific year for the Dockers. They've had some injuries, but also they've dropped away as far as their defensive game is concerned as well. One of the shining lights last week, and he's just his 5th game, we saw Shane Yarran, a mature age recruit, his 5th game, and in the first quarter he kicked 3 goals, looked very dangerous. Didn't get any for the remainder of the game, but that was probably more supply rather than anything else. So he was one of the real positives on what has been a very disappointing year.
And then another positive also for our Macca's little win. We've got somebody about to clock over probably double what the average midfielder in Tony Shaw's time used to get.
Well, Lachie Neale, he's had 701 disposals, so he is the 3rd person to ever get over 700 disposals. And if he has 19 touches or 20 touches this weekend, which he's pretty much assured to do because he averages about 33 a week, he will break the record for all-time disposals in the AFL since champion data have been taking the numbers.
I'm glad you said that.
Break Matty Boyd's 721. So, sure, you reckon you had what?
No, 736, but that was counting finals. I did.
No, no,
736.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, 1990.
I checked.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, mate, you don't count when you kick it your full distance and it's only 8 metres ahead and you can get it back yourself.
Hey, and we didn't kick backwards and sidewards and all that sort of stuff.
Doesn't count. I love it.
He's had a great year. We'll win their best and fairest season.
Let's go to the doggies now, and while you've still got that flapper going, Shorey, keep up your good work.
I think it was 7:38, matter of fact. I just give myself. Well, a lot of ins for the Western Bulldogs now. So it's Minson, Morris, Suckling, Stevens, Campbell, Tommy Campbell and Williams. And the main thing, Campbell probably in with Jordan Roughhead out with a calf injury. The big one is Easton Wood. Easton Wood, if he doesn't come up for finals, I think, I don't think they can win it, but I think they can go a long way. His intercept marking, his courage, he's a leader at that group. It's a real issue. They've been ranked for 16th in scoring inside 50s, which we've known all year, but they've only lost the time inside 50 3 times during the year, so it's amazing. They're getting it in there a bit and holding it in there, but they're just not scoring with it, so that's an issue. But Easton Wood's a big loss.
Can the home team win for Pav?
No.
Doggies for you?
Doggies.
Doggies without Stringer, which is a
Yes, did he? Yeah, I thought they'd play in the last round.
Making him go the hard path, aren't they? Doggies all around here. Hawthorn take on the Magpies. It's been quite some time since the Magpies have knocked over the Hawks. It's at 3 p.m. Sunday, Channel 503. David Parkin. Let's have a look at the Hawks and we'll chat about one of the stalwarts after.
Yeah, interesting ends, isn't it? Got it covered both ways as far as Segler goes. Fitzpatrick and Pitnet are both in. Showen Makers is a good one. I think that's pretty important. Surprised, though, that young Lamford wasn't included. Went out the last minute and wasn't included. I think he's needed in that side. They might finish top 4, but in my humble opinion, they're going to come in with a less than healthy list, which is going to make it very, very difficult for them. They were smashed in the air at the start of the game against West Coast, both back and forward. They were beaten by 45 in contested ball, which is a long way behind the starters, even though they seem not to worry about it. And their usage by foot was as bad as I've ever seen from a Hawthorn side, under fair duress from the opposition, but their inability to keep possession of the ball, which has been their great strength over the time, was a real disappointment for me. So it's going to be a tough month or 5 weeks ahead for the Hawthorn Football Club.
Awful day all round. One of the stalwarts of the club, Kenny Goddard, trainer for 38 years at the Hawks. Actually longer, started in 62, only finished up just before the year 2000. Not often you say it about blokes who hang around footy clubs or around footy clubs. He was a beautiful man.
I agree totally. He started the year after me, 1962, and I went the whole journey with him, and he made a terrific impact. I know he was your personal trainer. What was the little...
you walk in and I hadn't seen Kenny for 10 years and he looked at me and winked and said, 2 stirrups, 2 figures of 6, a reverse 6, an overwrap with the white on a heel lock. I said, you still got it, Kenny.
Oh, yeah.
It was the quickest strapper of ankles you've ever seen and flawless. Not a wrinkle in there. But other than that...
Lovely bloke.
You would have had him in state games
Two
as
state
well.
games Kenny was involved in. Fantastic player.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful man. And thoughts go out to Joyce, his wife, and the surviving family. Kenny Goddard, rest in peace. Let's go to the Magpies now, Shorey.
Yeah, big one. Travis Cloke in, Darcy Moore out. Will it be Travis Cloke's last game for the Collingwood Footy Club? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Thanks. I didn't say it. You said it. All right. They've only had 10 goal kickers 4 times this year, so they haven't spread the load. Did it last week. Played Gold Coast Suns. Josh Smith was sensational with 35 positions. Going to be a long-time player. Jordan De Goey looks like he's finding his mark now in league footy. And the other one, Jeremy Howe, the move to defence has been a masterstroke because, to me, he just reads the ball well and uses it well.
Can they beat the Hawks?
They can, but they won't.
All right. Hawks there.
He's right again.
Yeah, Hawks again.
Hawkers.
Hawks all around this panel. Well, that's it from us. We've released the farmyard into 360 coming up next. Thank you, gents. The pig is turning up. Yes, Jason is joining Jared. Robbo is still away, and they'll be joined by Dyson Heppel and, of course, Lakey. Lakey and Jason back together again. 360 coming up next. See you next Thursday.
This has been a Fox Footy production, part of the Fox Sports Network.